So, good
Okay.
morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. So today, myself Anubhav and I'll be talking through the ways by which we can communicate to the backend in Angular projects. So prior to that, I can just quickly showcase or by drawing an image how normally where we are currently. Say this is our UI project, or say this is our browser where our Angular application is running. But in a if it is a very simple application or a very small project you are doing, in that case you have just one page. You don't need to communicate with the database. Then it's fine. But in 90% of the cases, what we see that we need to talk to our or communicate with our database in order to fetch data or store data or anything. So here is our database, and there is also definitely a middle layer. Say it can be anything like node.js or java or .NET or anything. So we need to send a request to the backend to fetch the data or do whatever stuffs we want to do. So this part is called the backend communication, and this is the section we will be learning, or I'll try to walk through how we do it. So if we go a bit, like a few weeks back, we talked about something called modules. So in Angular, everything is separated into different modules. So the module which is actually handling this database or backend communication or backend API communication, that is the HTTP client module. Better, I think I write. So here, yeah. So HTTP client module. This is the module. So we first should inject this module in our app module or the main module. So how we do it? So I have already actually created a project and I have created few components, but these are pretty basic. Nothing I have added as of now. So you can see. I hope everyone can see, right? I did not ask in the beginning. So these are the two components I have created, and this is my app module. So in the app module, in the import section, we add all our different incoming modules or whatever modules we want to import it in this particular module. So here we are importing the HTTP client module. So this module is responsible for handling all the API calls or backend API calls. So just
Anil,
by adding, yeah,
sorry to interrupt. Is it
yeah,
possible to increase the font size?
yeah, sure.
Yeah, yeah, that's
Let
better.
me know if it is better.
Yeah, that's better. Thank you.
So this is the HTTP client module, which is responsible for handling all the backend API calls. So we are done with, this is the step one. Once we have written this or added this import, we have included the HTTP activities in our project. So the next thing or this is the step one, we can see. The next thing is, normally we have something called components. We have components and we have services in our project. So the best case or best practice is to communicate with the backend via the service, because all the API communication happens via the service, so that you can use your same API calls if needed in a different component or if it is required in a different service. So if you create a single service where you will be calling the backend, then it would be, the code reusability will be higher. So that's why we normally service is the place where we do our backend communication from or to, you can say. So here, that's why we need to create one service file, or I have created here one employee service. So here in this case, we need to add one more stuff. So sorry, that's HTTP. I think client, I forgot exactly this. Actually, I don't keep on using so many a times. Yeah, HTTP client. So this is the class we are importing, and it should be imported from @Angular slash I think common slash HTTP common slash HTTP. Yeah. So yeah, HTTP client. Yeah. So we have to import this class, and just correct me. I believe this is a class only. So at least I saw in the tool hover after hovering. So we need to inject this class in our service file or in the constructor. So I am just writing it, say HTTP, and here I am injecting my HTTP client. So this is the step 2. So first step was injecting the module. Second step, the service, which will be or from where we'll be communicating with the backend. In that file, we have to inject the HTTP client class, and in the constructor, this is, you can consider as the, this one you can consider as the second step 2, and this is the injecting the class or creating the token is the step 3. So we are done preparing our HTTP modules and stuffs. Now we are ready to communicate with the backend. So let's see how we can do it. So in before going ahead, we need to understand the concept of REST APIs. I think everyone is aware of, but still I'll just give a brief idea about the REST APIs. Or REST stands for representation state transfer. So here there are different methods available by which we can actually communicate with the backend. So let's see the few of the methods which are available. Say one is the get, the second is the, say, post. I think is this visible? Yeah. The third is the put, fourth is the delete. So let's first understand each and every method one after another. So once if we are trying to get items from the backend or fetch items, say a list of employees or a single employee item from the backend, in that case we use the get method. And when you are using a browser, say for example here, if you are running that API, the get request can run can run in the browser. The other requests like post, put, and delete cannot be called from the browser or browser URL. Only get can be called from the browser URL. Post is for creating a new item or creating a new entity in the database. Here this get is the fetching items from the database. Put is in, if we want to edit, already I have saved some items. Say for example, we have records or our profile, Facebook profile. We want to update our phone number. So in that case, you can consider we have to call a put method. So this is for updating a current record which is already there in our database, and delete means we are trying to delete the record from the database. So these are there are several other calls or several other methods also, but these four are the most prominent, and these four consists of the CRUD applications. They are called, these four combined are called the CRUD: create, read, update, and delete. Okay, so we'll see all these four methods how we can implement in our Angular application. So now let's see. Say for example, we are trying to, I will first create a say save employee. Say for example, I am trying to just save a particular record in our database. So, and that record is the employee record we are trying to save. So in that case, I'm just creating a function, and this function will be called from a component. So how we can create, or we can call that API, or we can, let's see, we'll see http dot, once we are writing this dot http dot, then you can see several methods, different methods which are available for you to use. So one of them is, as we saw, four methods we have already seen. This is the one method which we have already seen. There's a post. Now let's see the post methods accepts. If you see here, two things it accepts. One is the URL and is the body, and few other options, few other parameters also are there which are kind of optional, you can say. So let's see. I'll talk about the URL. Just give me a second. Okay. So I'll. Okay. So now this is the first parameter is called the URL or API. You can say API or you can say URL. The backend API which it has to talk to, or it will hit the backend API to save the data. So in order to do that, you must be having a backend up and running. So only then it will be working. And the second parameter is the body or the content which you want to or trying to save in the database. So right now, say for example, I don't have anything in the database, but still, say for example, you will be, I am just sending a fake or say a random object I am saving, say Jack, and say salary, say 25,000. That's it. So once it is, this API is communicating to the backend, either it will be saved or it will be rejected. So in that case, either you can, it will be returning a observable. So first, let's see how to resolve that in the current service file only. Then we'll see how to return this same observable and consume it in a particular component. So how to subscribe it? So since it's an observable, if we don't subscribe to this observable, we won't be able to, this API will not be fired or API will not be called. So that's the rule of observable, right? So we need to subscribe. So how we can subscribe? We have to write subscribe, and subscribe takes two functions, or you can say, yeah, two functions you can say. The first one is always a success and the second one is a error. Success means suppose the item or the entity is saved to the database, the API, backend API will be returning or acknowledging that your item has been already saved. Okay, so that means yeah, you are good to go. So you will be showing to the user that it's a 200 or it's a successful save. So the first part will be the success one, then the second function will be the error part. So the error will be also, this is the arrow functions. The error can be handled in this way. So something, say you are writing right now I don't have any backend, so every time it will be going to the error part only. Oh, not sure if anyone is blinking chat.
Yeah, it's okay. It's just that
Okay,
I sent the wrong Zoom link in Meetup,
okay,
and some
okay,
people went there.
okay. I'm sorry. Uh, so uh, the first part is the, as I said, is a success part, and the second part is the error part. Say here, uh, something will be happening called say success. Success will be printed, and here it will be the error part. So error will be printed. So now let's see how we can call this service from our particular component. So I already have a say component or say employee component. This has nothing to do. It will not make much sense, but we can see the demo or we can see the example at least. Okay. So say here I can say employee, and here we have to also inject the service or employee service in my employee component. How we can do that? We'll be creating a emp svc employee service, and once we use this instance of emp svc and dot, we can see that we are getting the save employee function which we have created in our service class. So we just need to call it. So now let's see how it will work. So we have to also call this. Just creating the component will not work. So we have to call this component or call this function, and we can call this from say here. Uh, let's quickly. Oh, sorry. Yeah. So here, okay, I'll open my dev tools and I'll put some debuggers here. Employee component. So ideally, if I click this submit button, this function should get called. So let's see here. Yeah, it has got called, and now it should call the API. So, but I don't have the API, so it will come to the error block. So let's see. Yeah, it has come to the error block, and it will say something that it is not found because the API is not there in my local or in my UI. So that's why the API is failing. But if you have the API, then you will get a success message. It will come directly here in the first part. So let's see one more way. So here we in our employee component, sorry, employee service, we have subscribed here directly, but we can also return the observable and do the same thing in a particular component. So I'll just cut it, and it is pretty simple and comparatively same thing, just in a different way. So once you are whatever observable you are getting, you are returning it to the caller. The caller is this API component, employee component.ts file. So here you can directly paste it, and the same thing will be happening, but it will be happening in the component component file or component level. So where when you suppose if you want to get the data in your component and you want to show something to the user, in that case it is always preferred to subscribe in the component. And if you want to just make sure that in the service also, if it is fine, you don't have to show something to the user, in that case you can directly subscribe to the service file. Okay, so this is one method which we have learned, that is a post. So now let's see the other stuff. Say get employee. So it would be pretty simple like this only. Just the formats are bit, the names are different. Nothing else is different. So you are writing HTTP get. So here also for all the API call or backend call, the first parameter is always the API. So this will be the API you need to provide, and once you have provided it, you can either subscribe this one, this observable, or you can directly return this observable. I am not showing like how to I am not writing again because I have already shown. So first I'll show other stuffs, then I'll be writing the subscription in the component. And say there is also another scenario where you want to get a particular employee from the database. In that case you have to pass a particular id to the database. Say for example, here you have, say there are 10 employees. First one is say Jack, second one is Tom, third one is say Hank. So if you want to get the details of the first employee, so you need to pass the id of the employee, or in this case say 1. You want to get the details of Jack, so you will be passing 1 into that with the get parameter. So here say for example, you are passing get an employee by id. Say here you need to, here is the API. Along with that you should be passing the id also. If you pass the id, you will be getting that particular uh, id details. Else you'll be getting, here you will be getting the full list of the details, and here it will be getting the only the item whose id you have sent. Similarly, there is something called update. So here also you will be updating an employee by its id. So here also you need to pass the id. So here it will be a bit different. It will be a mix of this one, get employee by id, and save an employee, because you will be passing an id as well as you will be passing the updated details. So let's see. So it will be a put request. So once you have written put, the first one will be API and the second one will be the body. So the API only will be having the ID with it. So it will be something like API slash class ID. So here you will be passing the data with which it has to be updated. So say you had something called already I had sent. Say Jack is same, but his salary has increased to 26K. In that case, you will be sending the updated salary. So that is 26K. So, and it will be reflected or updated in the database. Uh, any question till now, anyone?
No question in the chat so far.
Okay. So I'll continue with the last one. The delete employee. Here also it takes the parameter, the item which you want to delete, and the best way you can do it using the ID. So here you will be sending the API along with the ID, and this also you can return. Okay. So here you have completed all the four plus one. Actually, there are two gates, and so that's why 4 plus 1. The gate, put, post, and delete. All the fours we have completed. So now let's see. We have already tasked this. Okay. So here in the component, the same thing, the same in the same way we can call all the different stuffs. So let's see. I'll just show you how it looks like in the network. So let's see. Save get employee. So I'll just copy this subscribe. Employee and get employee and then update employee. So this is the update employee. Update employee needs a number. Say I will be passing a random number, and this is not returning anything. Update employee should return something. So this is done, and say delete or get employee by ID. One more thing is, so here we'll be deleting the item. So, okay, so here I'll be copying this. Okay, so this is done. So let's see how the network calls differ when it is a get request, or how it will be varied. So here it will be save employee and save employee, get employee list. Here it will be get employee by ID, then update employee, delete employee, delete employee. Okay. So we are done this, and let's see. Okay. Now we'll see in the network how every API call looks like. So I'll just dock it, and I'll go to the network, I'll clear it, and let's see. So first let's okay, and I'll remove the debugger, come here, save employee. So although I'm getting an error, but that is not what I want to look or go through. So here we want to see the request method. So in the request method, we can see that we are sending a post request. That's what we want to learn. So once we are trying to save, we are sending a post request. And here on the last once you scroll down, you can see the payload, whatever I was sending. I was sending the name as Jack and salary as 25K. So in this way, you can verify, suppose you are sending an API call and suppose it's not getting saved correctly in the backend. If you want to see what you are sending, so you can directly do it from the, even if it is deployed in your development or production, then also you can see if it is a post request, whatever data you are sending, you can see that. So now let's see the get one. Every request will fail, but we can see few of the important things. So here, if you see here, the name of the API will be written. So currently I have written here in the employee service. If you see here in the get employee capital API, I have written. So that's what it is getting called, capital API. And request method is get, and nothing we are sending. So that's why we are not having anything in the request body, or nothing is there. And let's see, the get employee by ID will not be, will be not say same thing, get employee by ID, but here you can see something called one, because that's what I was sending. If you remember, I am sending the ID. We are trying to get the employee of number one, so that's what it is. One, it is coming up. Say if you see here, it's a get request slash API slash one, and here also we are not getting anything. But if it is a success one, if it is a successful API call, then in the preview you will be getting the data. Okay, and sorry, in the update, again you are trying to update request with the value one. So that's why it is the one you can see here on the left side. And the request method, that's the important thing. You are trying to send a put request, so that's why the request method is put. And here in the request payload, if you see the value which you want to save, you are sending it. The name is Jack and salary is 26K. And this is a put or update. And the last one is the delete one. So delete is, I think I have, I mistakenly, I think copied delete employee. Something. Okay, and let's see, try one more time. Ideally, yeah, I don't know what happened that time. So the request method is delete one, and you are deleting the ID with one, value one. So these are the ways you can actually check the different API calls via your browser. And one more, yeah, these are the, I think, pretty basic things. At least that's what I know. And Daphne, if you want to add anything, or if anyone wants to add anything.
Yeah, that's great. That's how we call the APIs in Angular. And of course, in production, you'll be replacing the local host with another um, URL to your backend service, which you will be writing either in .NET or Node.js or PHP. Or any other server type um, language that can serve the API. So any questions from the
Yeah,
participants?
one more thing I would like to add,
Mm.
maybe that is important.
Mm-hmm.
So when you are doing it, when you are calling API from the back Angular, one more thing you have to take care of is the proxy. So you need to add a proxy file in your Angular app. Otherwise, in your it will not get called. So you will always get a course error. So in order to prevent that, you need to have something like proxy.json. I had already actually written just I read somewhere, so I haven't tried, but so just add if I have missed anything or if my understanding is not exactly correct. So this is a piece which will be preventing the course error, because the say your backend will be running in port number say 9000 and your UI will be running in port number say 4000. So since they are in a different port, so the normally the browsers doesn't send any request or browser actually prevents it. So that's the course thing, and in order to prevent that, we provide a proxy so that, or it's like telling the browser that yeah, it's in the same machine or same port it is running, just to you can say just to fool the browser. So here you need to provide the target or target of your say backend. If your backend is running in port 8090 and security is false, like and the log level you can, this is these two are not mandatory, the target is a mandatory thing. So where you want to target your applying UI API to. So this is the one thing, and how to activate this proxy. If you see or package.json, we have something called ng serve. We write right npm start. So npm start, what it does, it runs the ng serve. So with along with that, we need to provide the proxy config and the path. The path is in the same level, so it is the proxy.json. So in this way, so sorry, say for example, here I'll just show you npm start. Here you can see it is ng. I think it will be a bit smaller, but just try to understand that it is ng serve. Then there is something called proxy.json is file is also getting added. So in that way, you will be assured that your proxy is working or it will work. Yeah, so that's the thing I thought of adding, but I haven't tried. So in our when in our project, I have seen this, but I haven't played with or played around with this thing. So this is the thing I read or and understood the stuff.
Okay. Anubhav, uh, s- can you start from the beginning for a bit, because some people joined from the wrong link, so
Yeah,
they may
sure.
have missed, for example, in the beginning where you need to add the
Yeah, sure.
uh, injection modules.
Yeah, sure, sure, definitely. So uh, once we are, I'll just then close all these things. Go here. Okay. So in order to add or communicate with the backend, Angular provides a separate module altogether, that is the HTTP client module. So we have seen in Angular that there are different types of modules available. If you want to add routing, then there's a routing module. If you want to talk to the browser or if you want to use your application in the browser, then there's something called browser module. Simply, similarly, there is something another module called HTTP client module. If you want to talk to your, there's a backend in your application and you want to talk to your backend. So that's why they have provided a separate module altogether, and that's called HTTP client module. So you have to first implement this class or import this class or import this module, you can say, in your root module, and in the import section or imports array, you need to add that HTTP client module. Once you have added that, your application is ready to talk to the backend uh, using HTTP or using HTTP different methods, whatever we have seen, like say get, post, put, delete, other several methods are there. Using that, we can communicate. So this is the step one of our uh, implementing the HTTP module, client module. The next thing is, normally what we do is we communicate with the backend via the or from the service only, because if we are putting all the API calls in the service, we can reduce it from different various components. But if we put all the API calls in the component, then we won't be able to reuse in the same level. Okay, so that's why we put the API calls or API codes calling the backend in the service. So in the service, we need to add one more thing or one more class, you can say. We need to import and add the dependency to. That is the HTTP client class from Angular common HTTP. We have added this class and provided the dependency. Once we have provided the dependency, using the dependency or token only, we can we are able to access different HTTP methods, like say this dot HTTP dot. So if you see, there are different. I'll just show you. Okay, so there are different methods which are available, and you can use any one of them as per your requirement. Say get is for fetching the list of items from the backend. Say post, which we have seen for creating a new item in the database. Put is for updating, and delete is for deleting a record in the database. There is another very important one. There is a patch. So patch is for a selective update, or say there are 10 fields. Just one second, please. Just one. Yeah, sorry. So patch is for selective update. Say if you want to update just one field, salary, in that case you have to use patch, and put actually updates the whole stuff or whole item. So definitely just stop me wherever you want to, because I'm not
Yeah,
sure.
I think that's great. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah,
Thanks so much for repeating the beginning part.
no problem.
So yeah, I think that's really good. Well, at least for me. Any questions from the chat? Anyone?
Yes, Anubhav, thank you. Really nice. One thing, if you can show us that we generally, when we going to send any data to database or the third-party API, we send it from the component level, right? So if you show us how we will send that data to component to service, employee service, then it will go to via API, right?
Yeah, sure.
We
So that
include,
is a
instead of
very important one.
included name and salary in service layer, if you can send it from the component.
Correct. So that is a very my bad actually. So here, as I said, so here you can, I have written few methods in the component from where I was calling the service. So instead of say gathering all the data, this is actually a very bad approach, honestly. So what I'll be doing, I'll be getting the say object from the component only, or the service will be dumb one. So service doesn't know anything. Service just takes the data, whatever data it gets, and it sends it. So you can consider it in this way. Sorry. So here, the moment I have changed, definitely I'll be getting an error. So before you are clicking a submit, or before you are clicking a save, definitely the user will be filling up some say reactive form, from where you will be gathering or collecting the data, right? Or using ng model, you will be collecting the data. So that will basically an object altogether. Say for example, this say I have a reactive form. I'm not going very details into that, but still, say employee, I need to up employee form. So just here, normally how it works is this dot employee form dot value will be having all the uh, set of data which you have gathered or collected from the reactive forms, correct? So you will be just getting the value and passing it. So this is just an example. Right now it will be basically you'll be getting undefined. Say here I'll
Yeah,
be just
that's fine. Actually, yeah, it's understandable, right? Right. Then
right.
we will only
So
in the object. Okay.
yeah, so wherever you can save the stuff from anywhere. So ideally we should not be hard coding anything. And one more thing then, since we have already uh, touched this part, so all these apis should be stored in something called environment files. So here if you see, there is something called environment they have already provided. In the environments there are two files they have the Angular team has provided. One is the environment.ts and one is the environment.prod.ts. So I'll just show you. Here there is one something called production false. So this is for the local development. So here ideally you should say write your urls. Say for example, say urls, and it will be say there are various ones. So this is the employee one. So create employee, create, say update, create update employee, something called, I'm not going through all the stuff, so just I'll just mm, uh, show you. So it should be like urls dot employee dot create employee. So in this way, uh, why we normally take this approach, because if tomorrow the this is suppose this is used in many places, and you don't have to change in all the places, you just change in the environment file, it will be uh, it will get reflected. So that's the main idea. And if it is a production, normally the paths get changed, because once we are building this or we are deploying this to the production, then we have already seen that the distribution folder has a different structure altogether. So in that case, it might get a bit different. So that's why it's a production. They have a different altogether. There's altogether different file is there for the
Yeah,
production.
right. Very good. Can we go to environment.ts file again,
Yeah.
where we are defining
Yeah.
that
Sorry.
URL
Sorry. Sorry. This
environment.
one.
So we will give over here the full URL endpoint or base URL, and after that some yeah,
Uh,
if-
so here I'll just show you. Sorry, I'll just give you a glance of this is a Spring one, Spring Boot. So here, forget about okay, request mapping. I'll just remove. This is running in port number 8090. Okay, I'll just restart it. I think many of us have already know something called we use normally Postman, right? So this is normally API should be there. Okay, I'm sorry, let me keep this API. This will be helpful. Okay, I'm sorry. Bit different topic. So say this is a normally a get request I am calling, and so here in this case the URL should be the whole one, or and this is called the URI, uniform resource identifier, and the whole stuff is called the URL, uniform resource locator. So here what you have said, this is a very good one. So what we'll be writing, we'll be writing only the URI. Why we don't write the URL? Because if you remember, we write something called proxy.json because it already knows where it has to go and hit. Correct. So that's why it is it takes care of that one. So let's see. I have written. So let's see how it works. I have written in for the create employee. Okay, let me try one more thing. I'll just give my shot. If whether it will work or not, I don't know. I'm sorry because I was just quickly creating it. I'll just try with the get one. Get employee. Whether it comes to success or not, I'm not. I cannot give you guarantee that one. So I'll just try. Save employee, get employee. URLs because this is the easiest one. First thing we try. Get employee. So get employee will be called. So now let's see. Yeah. Okay. So this stopped. Yeah. So here we can see that it worked. So all employee list returned. So that it is actually the proxy is working and it is going to the backend and getting the API call. So here if you see all employee list returned. So this is what I am returning from the backend. So it is actually going to the
Nice.
backend and getting the work, getting the data.
Thank you, Anubhav. Thank you very much.
Actually, I also didn't know that it will work. So it just worked.
Yeah, we are learning all these
Yeah.
things, right? All of our we
Yeah,
are learning
correct.
can
Correct.
make all strong.
Any other questions from anyone else? Is it clear? Or anything you want to discuss that you are having difficulty with?
Actually, I had, if I can tell something, like
Mm-hmm.
I have just 1 minute. So actually, I was going through reading, I was learning via this uh, Angular website. So there are actually few other stuffs which I was also trying to understand, something called interceptor and something handling the interceptor events. Those things I am also not clear of. If you we can just connect again, then I'll have a good read and then we can connect again to discuss. That's a I think advanced concepts. This is a basic one.
Yeah,
For those are the pretty advanced.
yeah, that would be great. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's all from my end as of now.
Okay. Okay, that's really cool. Thank you so much. Thanks, Anubhav.
So
So
one more thing, I did
mhm.
not prepare any slides. So should I prepare some slides for us?
No, no, no. Only if you had slides. You don't really need to give slides if you don't have.
Okay.
All right. If there's no other questions, thank you so much, Anubhav. And we can always continue our discussions in the WhatsApp. Okay, I'm going to stop recording now. Thank you.